As we're laying here, take a couple of good breaths. Body's starting to relax. No matter what we've been doing, office work, housework, whatever it was that we've been doing this morning so far, our back is getting a chance to really flatten out on the ground, to get a chance to open and enjoy that new plane, that new place to be long and open. So as we're enjoying a couple of breaths, preparatory to heading into our strengthening exercises today, let's allow ourselves to connect with the idea of endurance. That'll be the kind of the theme that we're traveling with throughout the class. There's different ways to build our strength. One way would be to do lots of repetition, to do, many, many crunches or something like that. Today, the strengthening aspect that we're working on is endurance. So it's the idea of trying to get into different types of poses and holding it for an extended period of time. Now, some of the poses, maybe I have stronger muscle groups in that area than you. So know that if there's ever moments when you need to take a break before I do, that's absolutely fine. Take a break. If I'm still in it by the time your break is good, then you can head back to the pose. Or conversely, maybe I come out of a pose before you and you want to hold it that 2 or 3 extra breaths. So know that that's always fine as well. That's the best part about being together online is you can kind of, hand shape your practice to be just what your body needs today. So with that idea of endurance, trying to hold our poses for a little bit longer as we travel through our class today, with that idea to lead us on, let's start to take our knees into the chest. We'll take a moment just to rock around on the hips and the low back. This is a chance for some of the muscle groups that maybe haven't really been used today, giving them a chance to have us tune into them, to have us feel physically what's going on in that area. So from here, as we start to head back to stillness with the hips. So as we're heading to this first one, we got this 90-degree angle, knees over hips, and then shins sticking directly out. And so from here, start to tilt your hips partway to one side, and we're just gonna hold. So you get to choose about how far you go. Obviously, the higher up your knees are, the easier this is. If you go, quite a bit closer to the ground, this will be harder to hold. So you get to choose your difficulty. And I'll tell you when to switch sides, but we're gonna try to keep on breathing. So those oblique muscles trying to hold with control here. And switch. Going off to that second side, trying to hold with control. It's amazing how maybe that first second or two, you don't really feel the muscle groups. You're like, yeah, I made it, I'm here. But holding it a little bit longer requires just a bit more. Go ahead and switch back to the first side. If that was pretty easy and you want to increase difficulty, let the legs extend all the way straight or part of the way straight. The straighter you go, the harder it'll be. Just makes it the center of gravity a lot further away. Good, back to the center, off to that second side, holding. Remember to keep the breath going. You can go in and out of the nose with the breath. Sometimes in Yogilates though, I like to do inhale nose, exhale mouth. So if that helps you to engage the diaphragm, engage some of those core muscles as you're exhaling, that's beautiful. We'll take 3 more rounds to each side, so go back to the first. Good, off to the second. And 2 more rounds off to the first. And to the second. One more time, first side. And second. Good. We end with the hips on the ground, legs straight up to the sky. From here, the challenge is going to be lowering our legs down. So we start off maybe a foot or so not too far down. You'll start to feel the legs getting a little bit shaky. That's great. That means that we're working them. If you feel like you'd like a little bit more of a challenge, maybe lower again. Make sure on this one, the low back doesn't start to arch off the ground. So the core is so tight that the low back is flat. Lots and lots of strength in that core. Maybe you're still doing okay and you want to lower the legs one more time. If not, just go higher. That'll make it easier. We're going to try to hold here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good work. You can bend the knees. Let's plant the feet about as wide as the mat. We'll take a few nice windshield wipers. So off to the left and to the right. Maybe 2 or 3 more times to each side. Beautiful. So from here, leaving the feet planted, take the fingertips behind the head. We're lifting up the head. And what we're going to do is lift up to a crunch. So remember, this is not so much about the head curling in as it is about trying to get as much of the back off the ground as possible. When we go up to our crunch, I'm going to try to do that slow countdown from 10. Again, if you need to come down sooner, that's okay. We'll do a few repetitions of it so you can come back in for the second round. So when you're ready, take a nice inhale. Exhale to crunch up. Holding for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax for a moment. Take a full breath cycle. Another inhale. Going up for 4. Here's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and down. Take a full breath cycle or 2. Inhale. Exhale, going up for 3. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax down. Already you can feel how this is a very different type of muscular strength than doing many repetitions. So inhale, exhale up for 2. Here's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and rest. And one more round. Take a nice inhale. Exhale up. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good work. When you rest the head back down, bring the hands right beside the hips. We're going to rise up to bridge pose and hold quite a bit longer than we normally do in that shape. So if you have the ability to clasp hands under your back, try to clasp. Maybe walking shoulders under. Remember, the knees don't splay open. We keep that engagement of inner thighs. So knees are right in line with the feet. Think of the big toes pushing into the ground. Notice how that changes the pose. You're rolling to the outer side of the feet. It's kind of like you're releasing some of your muscle groups, but pushing big toes down creates a whole new kind of lift. keep the breath flowing. Feel the glute squeezing. It's good activation, good strength going on. You can either maintain this pose with both feet on the ground like this, or maybe you start to lift right leg up to the sky. Kind of point it really high. One more breath there. And then when right foot goes down, reset the hips high, and then left leg can go all the way up, pointing high. Nice inhale. Exhale, left foot is down. Reset the hips high if you dipped at all. We're going in for the final stretch here in this bridge. So here's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release the hands, release the shoulders, roll the hips back down. We'll take a moment to stretch through the glute and hip area. So right ankle up onto left thigh, and then arms thread around the left side. So that figure 4 stretch. Gently pull it in, and notice how that glute area, especially after you've had it activated and warmed up like we just did, that glute area is kind of very much alive in this stretch. Sometimes you don't notice that. Sometimes this feels like it's more about the hip, but very alive right now. So keep on breathing into that area. Good, gentle release, and second ankle up, thread around and pull it in. Okay, when we release, you can leave the knees bent for a moment. We're setting up with our hands behind the back of the head again. That helps to lift the head up, making sure the neck doesn't get too sore. In this pose, we will be twisting the right elbow to touch the left knee as the right leg extends out. You choose an angle. Lower is harder, higher is easier. The biggest thing, and I love this about going slow today, is the biggest thing is trying to lift that right shoulder off the ground, getting as much of the back off the ground as possible. Sometimes when we're going quick, we barely do any lifting of the back off the ground at all. We kind of just twist. And so here we're really feeling that lift. So now go ahead and switch. Left elbow to right knee. Lifting off the ground as much as you can get up. And switch. It's funny how we think oftentimes in our brain that slower equates with easier, but here after just 3 repetitions or so, our muscles are screaming at us. They're saying, oh wow, what is this? What's going on? So just breathe through it. Go at about this pace, just nice and slow. Pause, usually 2 or 3 breaths, and then switch. Do 2 more each side. So here's 2. And 2. And 1. And 1. Good. Relaxing back down. You feel those side waist area, those muscles, those obliques right on the sides, very alive right now. So let's take a stretch for that area. This is the banana stretch. The legs go long on the ground, arms up overhead. And we're going to make the huge banana all the way off to that left side. So take the right ankle over left and then legs to the left. Up above our head, grab onto right wrist and then scoot the shoulders off to the left side. Just make sure you've got 4 points still touching the ground, both hips, both shoulders. You can be passive here, that's fine. That can be a good stretch, or you can be active, trying to push against the wrist and ankle connections. Good. Start to release. We'll switch sides. So we've got the left ankle over right, legs off to the right. And we're holding onto left wrist, scooting shoulders off the right. Again, passive or active, you choose that right quality for your body today. Okay, when we return onto our back, we're going to do a combination of endurance exercises. And so just follow me step by step. We'll gradually get through a cycle and then we'll repeat the cycle a couple of times. So we start off with legs directly up, right above the hips, and we choose that angle to lower down to again. Holding here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Legs up and then legs open wide, holding as wide as you can get without hands for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now take your arms, reach your arms through the legs. You're lifting the back off the ground as much as possible. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Let's repeat. Legs together. Lower the legs down. Choose your angle. If you're getting tired, go easier. Here's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Legs up and then wide. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now reaching the arms through the legs. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Let's try to go through 2 more reps. Legs together and then lower them partway down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Legs up and wide. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reaching through. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you're dying by this point, just take a break for the last one. Otherwise, let's try to get one more in. Legs lowering down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Legs up and then wide. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then reaching through. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good work. Let the knees bend. Send the left leg long, resting on the ground. Twist the right knee over to the left. Feel the spinal twist going on. This is nothing forceful. It's asking our back muscles how much they're willing to stretch open. This moment to tune in with the breath. Keep the breath getting slower and slower. Good. Switch it out. So now right leg is on the ground, left knee comes in. Let it twist all the way over. The little trick to help reduce stress, and we can do that by reducing the breaths per minute. We don't really notice it, but during stressful times, our breaths per minute actually increase to something like 10 or even 20 breaths per minute. But when we're calm and sleeping and relaxed, our breaths per minute can be even as few as 4 or 5. And so this is a goal to gradually elongate that breath per minute, helping our body know I'm in a good spot. I'm choosing to do this. Okay, so now when we return down, we're going to straighten this left leg up. I'm going to set you up in the full pose before I do the countdown. So the left leg is up. We're going to take both arms and we're touching them to the outer part of that left thigh. And then the last step is floating that right leg right above the ground. So this is the pose. We're holding here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Switch the legs out. Now we're touching outer right thigh, holding for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And switch. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Switch. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Switch up to 3 more rounds. Remember, you can always take a break earlier if needed. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Switch. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 2 more rounds total. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Switch. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you're still with me, 1 more each side. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And last one. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good work. Leave this right leg up. The back gets to rest on the ground. We're going to walk our hands up that leg to the highest point where we can reach, and then let the legs stay in a nice stretch. Trying to elongate it out. If you were cold today at all, I'm sure after that one you're like, okay, I'm not cold anymore. I'm doing fine. So work on the breath per minute again, trying to get that to slow down after such a challenge. For just a moment before we switch sides, let's walk our hands as high as we can reach and try to pull the knee in close to the forehead. Feel how that stretch is exaggerated even further. So try to relax here for a few rounds. Good, and then when head relaxes back down, we can drop the right leg. And left leg, we start off with just a simple stretch, so don't feel like you have to go super far quite yet, but try to work on elongating the muscles and then pulling in as much as the body will allow for at this moment. Take those couple of breaths, walking the hands up even higher. Try to pull the forehead in toward the knee. Good, and then as we relax, let the leg rest back down. We're rolling onto our side body, whichever side body points you to the screen. And we're going to just kind of rest the head in the bottom hand, whichever arm that is. Your top hand is pressing into the ground in front of your chest. And from here, the pose that we're gonna try to hold is leaving the top leg about level with the hip, and then the bottom leg lifts up to touch the top leg, and try to just hold there in that spot. You can always take breaks, but try to maintain it however much you have that ability for. Now let the bottom leg take a break. The top leg lifts up as high as you can and try to hold it there. Super, super slow like that. We're gonna go through 2 more rounds. So top leg back level with the hip, bottom leg lifts up. Feel how there might be a lift of your rib cage off the ground. That's okay. That's your whole core trying to lift to make it possible. Good, bottom leg rests, top leg rises and stays. Okay, 1 more round. Top leg level with hip, bottom leg lifts. And rest bottom leg, top leg rises. Hold. Try to see if you can allow the kneecap, that area, to straighten. It would be easier to keep it a bit bent, but trying to really keep that quadricep muscle engaged that lifts the kneecap. That's what makes this a bit more challenging, trying to keep that leg as straight as possible. It's absolutely fine if you're shaking. Nothing wrong with that at all. 1 more breath in. Good. Exhale, rest this top leg on top of the other. We're going to come up to a side plank. So your bottom elbow is now underneath the shoulder. We're going to try to lift the hips directly up from this long line. If it's too hard, you can bend your knees and just take the side plank with the knees bent and the hips lifting up. So know that that's your second variation if you need it. Otherwise, start to lift the hips up from the long leg shape. Maybe the top hand stays on the ground. Maybe you bring it to the hip, kind of like a Peter Pan. And we're just going to try to keep this as long as possible. When you need to drop down, there's nothing wrong with that. Try to breathe. If it's possible, try to hold this 1 breath longer than your body wants to go. Get to that point of challenge, and then 1 more breath. Good, if you're still with me, 1 last inhale. And exhale, rest. Feel that release through the muscles, good work. Let's roll onto our belly. Your elbows go wide so that your stacked hands create a nice pillow for the forehead. And then from here, legs go wide on the mat. So we're gonna keep the upper body resting down. This is its break, while the legs lift up super wide and try to just hold from that angle. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax and take a moment with child pose, pushing all the way back. Again, breaths per minute are trying to decrease. Okay, let's come up. You're gonna switch sides so you can still face the screen, but now you're laying on the other side so that we can get the second leg. So the first one we can just lay down, support the head. When you're all situated, the top leg stays level with the hip floating. Bottom leg comes up to meet it, and we try to just hold right there. And bottom leg drops, top leg rises. Again, try to keep that knee straightening as much as possible. Okay, round 2, top leg with hip. Second leg rises up to meet. And drop the bottom, top one rises, keep it straightening. Okay, one more round. Bottom leg lifts. And then top leg lifts. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rest the leg. We'll start playing with that side elbow plank. So the elbow gets under the shoulder. Remember, if you bent your knees before, just take that same variation on this side. Otherwise, straight legs is a bit harder. Whenever you're ready, start to lift the hips up. Top hand can stay resting, or maybe rest on the hip like the Peter Pan. Try to focus on the breath rather than the muscles of the body. If I'm focusing on the breath, I can keep it going. If I'm focusing on the muscles are telling me I'm tired already, so they're ready to just go down. Keep the breath going. It's almost like, what if everything we wanted was just outside of our comfort zone? Let's try to stay for 3 more breaths if we're doing okay. Last breath in. Good. Exhale, we can release. This time when we go down onto our belly, we're going to let the arms open to the sides like an airplane. And this time we're lifting the legs and the arms. Trying to stay as high as possible so those back muscles engage, trying to strengthen that area. Let's try to hold another 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good work. Let's take another child pose for a moment. Letting the breath really elongate. Take a little bit of time now sitting down. So we're on our glutes. Let the legs stretch out long in front of us. We're gonna float the arms in front of us. And then as we start to head back, as much as possible, try to keep this core really engaged. So rather than just kind of like collapsing our spine into a certain shape, try to keep it very tight through that whole core. So what we're gonna do is lower partway down, a point where you still have control. You could still come up if you needed to, and try to just hold right there. So for me, it's this point where pretty much the sacrum is all the way on the ground. You're doing okay. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Try to straighten directly up. Just a moment to take a nice tall spine and then continue to reach over your 2 straight legs, stretching them out. Okay, spine rises back up. This time plant the feet. We're going to do something very similar. Maybe with our feet planted, we can go just a hair further. So maybe getting up to the sacrum and maybe part of the lumbar spine, trying to hold on to the ground. Okay, so very slowly make your way back. Make sure you still have control. Find that spot where it's your edge for today. And then continue to breathe. You can always come out before me. That's always the permission you have today. Keep the breath flowing. We never hold our breath. Here's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Straighten up, place a hand on each knee, and let's take a slight arch to the spine. So pull the heart forward and through, lean the head back just a little bit. Okay, straightening back up. This next one, we probably won't be able to go quite as far as we just did because our knees are going to be together and our right leg is going to be trying to stick out at the same time that we try to lean back. Right leg out, start to lean back. Remember, you can always come out early. That's nothing wrong with that. And 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rather than just collapsing, see if you can walk your hands up that right leg. Trying to pull it up. Maybe the forehead comes close to the knee again. Okay, rock out of it to drop the right foot down. And then the left foot starts to extend out. Once you're there, start to lean back, find your place of control. Here's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Walk the hands up the left leg. And try to lift the leg up as much as you can with balance. Maybe the forehead comes closer to the knee. Okay, setting the foot down. Got one more set. This could look like boat pose. You could hold your hands onto the thighs the whole time, so nothing wrong with that. With bent knees, hands hold on. If you'd like to try to straighten the legs out, that'd be slightly harder. If you're trying to extend your arms out, that's even harder. Trying to lower the legs down and the torso down like a half boat would be the hardest. So choose your variation. Continue to breathe. And here's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Try to lift back up to a good boat and then slide the heels in to cobbler shape and then relax your way forward. There's slight motions, then we can introduce them into the body that might feel good, maybe rocking the head a little bit left and right. Okay, sitting up. We got just a little bit more to do, and then take some stretches to wrap us off. And so with this one, what we're going to try to attempt to do is take the legs into a cross-leg shape in front of you. We're letting the sides of the feet, it's like the razor blade edge of the foot, we're letting that part be on the ground, and we're even going to press that into the ground. Our hands are on the floor, just slightly in front of where our hips are right now. So from this arrangement, our hands down, those sides of the feet down, we begin to rock some of our weight forward to try to lift the hips up as much as possible. It's like we're curling into a tight little ball. So if you're here, let's go for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come out for a moment, switch the cross of the legs, and take 2 or 3 rolls of the wrists. Okay, let's try that just one more time. So hands are down, the feet are down. Rock your weight forward and try to lift the hips up. Keep on breathing. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Set the hips down for a moment. Crossing the legs, try to go roll forward so you end up on hands and knees. And we're going to try to do an endurance downward facing dog. Now know that not everybody is okay with their wrists. So if downward facing dog is not the shape that's going to work for you, do dolphin pose instead. So it's like the down dog, just you're on your elbows. Okay? So hands or elbows down, and then tuck the toes, lift up the hips, and start to set up your spine in a very tall shape. If you're in the dolphin, also try to walk your feet in a little bit closer. What we'll do is stay here about as long as we can have pretty good control over this. And then eventually we'll end up at the top of our mat in a nice forward fold just up at the top. Keep on lifting the hips high. Usually the first little bit of down dog is pretty easy. As we hold it a bit longer, that's where the challenge starts to come in. you're here and you're like, this is easy, I can hold this forever, you can add a variation where you come to plank position and then rock back up to down dog. This will start to pump through your shoulders, making that a little bit more active. Keep the breath going. If you're doing these pumps, let's go for another 5, and then we'll all make our way up to the top of the mat. So there's 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. Start walking your way up to the top if you're not there already. Dangling the head down nice and loose for a few breaths. Maybe the wrists are ready to roll out. If the feet are wide, start to bring them such that big toes are touching, heels are slightly separated, and then bend the knees and gently roll your way up to stand so that way there's not a head rush going on. Good. This will be our last challenge pose of the day, and it's going to be sitting back like a chair. So we call this fierce pose. So bending the knees. Start to sit the hips back. Make sure the knees never go past toes. Instead, the hips get sent back. The easier variation would be hands at the heart. So try to play with that one maybe at first. If you're here and you're like, I think I can hold this quite a while, that's when you'll start to reach the arms up by the ears. That's what makes it quite a bit more difficult. You want to make sure there's a slight tuck to the low back. That'll make sure that low back is nice and safe because it helps the core to protect the back. So keep that core engagement. We're doing good. We're almost there. So our last count of 10 for the day. So here's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good work. You're welcome. Now let's leave the right foot up at the top. Let's step our left foot back. We want both legs to be straight and we want our hips to be facing the top of the mat so that we can start to slide our way down toward pyramid pose. So maybe hands stay resting on the thigh. Maybe they walk down to the shin. If you can easily reach floor, that's also an option. You get to choose your depth. Okay, now walk both hands to the inside of that right foot and continue to walk your hands off that long edge of the mat. Turn your toes to the long edge. We're in a nice wide angle forward fold. So let the legs lengthen. You choose your hand position. Maybe you're walking through the legs. Maybe your hands are on the ankles. Your choice. Now we're going to continue to walk the hands to the back of the mat as our toes swivel to that direction. We should end up in pyramid pose to the second side. Okay, hands to the inside of the foot. Walk back to that long edge, turning the toes to the long edge. Another chance to be in the wide angle forward fold. Okay. From here, with hands on the floor, we're going to start bending the right knee. This will bring us either to a high lunge, or if your knees are okay, maybe you go to a low lunge, all the way hips close to that heel. You can play here with hands on the ground, just enjoying that inner thigh stretch on the left side. You could try for balance, hands at the heart. You could also try to drop the elbows to the ground. That's another variation that could be deeper depending on what your body, how your body is set up with the muscle tightness or looseness that you already have. And here we'll begin to switch sides. So help that right leg to straighten out. Walk our way to the left and left knee bends. Maybe same variation, so maybe hands float, maybe they're on the floor, maybe we're trying to get down closer to elbows. Okay, so heading out of this, we're eventually going to end up on the ground. So if you need to kind of gently make your way down, whatever way you need to get there, that's just fine. Once we're down, we're sitting, and then we're extending our legs out in front of us so that we can slow motion lower our way one vertebrae at a time down onto our backs. Once you're on your back, take a moment to tune into the body. What last little movements or stretches does your body need? Maybe you're taking a twist. Maybe you're taking legs straight up or even over like a plow pose. Maybe you are doing happy baby, grabbing onto feet, letting the knees go wide, maybe rocking around. So any last things that would feel good to stretch through the body, this is that time to do any of those last movements, especially since we've done a lot of strengthening today. It's important to incorporate some of that stretching so that the lactic acid buildup in our body isn't quite so profound. Well, eventually you'll find a point where you're feeling pretty good. When you get there, you'll find your Shavasana. We've got just a couple of minutes to relax here. So when you find yourself releasing, begin to follow the breath, seeing if you can slow down the breaths per minute. Here, begin to deepen the inhales and the exhales. Introduce little movements to the body, fingers and toes, ankles and wrists. Stretching out like we're waking up first thing in the morning. At some point, taking a nice fetal position off to one side. Enjoying 2 or 3 good deep breaths. Eventually rising up to a comfortable seated position. And with hands on our heart, we consider that idea of endurance once again. We consider how much maybe our body or our mind is resistant to endurance. When things get hard, do we want to just abandon ship? Or are we a person that really tries to stick through, even through the tough times? Because we know that sometimes we have to get through the tough before it starts to get better. It's just like our body healing after a surgery. It gets hard before it gets better. And so with this idea of endurance, just kind of percolating on the back of the mind to help us have a new focus for the day, trying to, embrace our challenges in a whole new way. With this idea to lead us on, let's wrap up the time we got to share together today with the sound of Om. Deep inhale now. May we be filled with light and happiness and peace. Namaste.